So I thought I was happy. I went through most of my life thinking things are going pretty well, and this is kind of what I was expecting. Had some bumps and stuff along the way, but it wasn't until I started getting into my late 30s and 40s saying, gosh, something seems to be missing. I don't think I'm as happy as I thought I was. And it started really bothering me because if you looked at my life, it's what a lot of people would say, like, hey, what's the problem, Gavin? Like, you've got a good marriage, you've got kids, you're doing the American dream. Yet I felt empty. I felt like, that there was more. And that I knew that within me, that if I could really figure out what was bothering me, everything would change and I could be way happier than I was. So, this video is kind of a little bit of that story on what I did, what changed, what was missing, what I'm doing now, and the impact that it can have on you is if you feel like your life could be a little bit more free and more abundant and have more love and especially so much more joy, then stick around because I know you're going to have some ahas. I know there's going to be some missing links that will help you on your journey. And hey, if you haven't been here before, my name is Gavin. This is called Blissflowly, and it's about how to live your bliss, how to be in the moment no matter what happens and really be secure, be peaceful, be happy, and enjoy life to the fullest. And when you do that, when you step into that, you're actually creating at a very high level. So, that's one of the spoiler alerts that I've realized is like one of the things I was missing, in creating the life that I wanted was I wasn't operating at a very high level vibrationally. I wasn't very happy. So let's take a step back and I'm going to give you the quick story. So, I, kind of went through life pretty normal. My parents actually got separated my senior year in high school, have a sister, and, used to play basketball, went to college, got a job, got married, had kids, you know the deal, right? And, all those things weren't anything that I ever like thought about of like, hey, you know, what's involved with this, what's this going to mean. It was just like, hey, it's the next stage, this is what people do, right? And I don't regret any of it, but I guess I had this expectation, like people, it's like, oh, if you do what other people tell you to do, if you do what society tells you to do, then you're going to be happy, then you have meaning, then you have purpose, right? And then you start going through it and you're like, huh, this is a little different than I was expecting. There's a little bumpier. There's a lot of ups and downs. I don't really like this. I mean, for so many years, I've had jobs I didn't like, right? And I'm going to talk and get more deep on that. But, I had a breakdown a few years ago that I just lost it. And I'll go through that whole thing. It's a whole nother video, but I was at rock bottom. I was in a bad place. And it was because I felt so stuck. I felt like I was, I could make good money doing this job, that I was good at it, but I didn't feel like it was my purpose. I didn't really like it. I didn't enjoy it. And it actually made me feel trapped. Okay. So all the while, which I'm sure you can relate to, that on this journey where like, you're supposed to enjoy life, you're supposed to, do what you love, right? And follow your heart, follow your bliss. And these are like keyword phrases that sound so good that are possible, but like, how in the world do you do that? Well, that always was just beyond my grasp. Okay. So what I did is what most people do is I chased what I thought would bring me fulfillment, would make me feel purposeful, would make my life matter. So whether it was like, I used to go after all these business ideas. My wife, if she was here, I could go through, at least 18, failed business attempts. Like, oh, if I do that, then I'll make this amount of money. Then we can do this and we can do that and everything will be taken care of, blah, 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 right? Well, I achieved some of those things. I made some of the money. I had some of those things. And I fell short in a lot of ways. Yet a huge thing happened that it took me years to realize of this pattern of that even when I hit what I wanted, it became something that like I found boring or that like didn't bring me fulfillment. No matter how much money it was, it just never seemed enough. And it was like, hey, I've now got to go to the next level. Or, okay, you did that big deal. Other people are doing this. And I compared myself. And, I always underneath it, when on the surface, I was like, oh, this, happy guy. Underneath it, I was not happy. And I knew it. And it was extremely frustrating. Okay. And I felt like I didn't belong in this world. I felt like everybody else had it figured out except for me. I knew I had this capability. I've been the spiritual student for so long. And yet, it always seemed to be like I was kicking the can down the road, or something was just beyond my grasp, or other people would get it and have figured it out. And I was always just behind. I couldn't ever like really get to where I wanted to go. And so over the years, I got more frustrated. I got more angry and I felt more stuck. Now, meanwhile, I was also like had all these things in my life that I loved. My marriage, which I've been so blessed with, my kids, and it was kind of like, gosh, I beat myself up. I should, like I have it better than most. I should be happy. I should be grateful. And believe me, I did everything I could to convince myself that what was bothering me wasn't a big deal and I should just get over it and just focus on gratitude, just focus on manifesting, just focus on goals, right? And what I didn't ever realize is those, were all the things like focusing on, basically another way to say it would be that I was ignoring what was really bothering me, and by focusing on the things that I thought would bring me joy, those businesses, the money, doing something that would make a difference in the world, right? Saving the world. And yet everything when it was just beyond my grasp, when I never like realized it, when I always fell short, then it was just like this cycle. And I started, not loving myself. I started doubting myself. I started not liking life. I started wondering, hey, is this even worth it? Okay. Now, that's as far as I'm going to go in that part of the story. I'll get into more details. But the biggest realization that I would point out that happened for me, that I would point out to you, is that I realized I wasn't happy. And I realized there was a problem. And when I started looking at it, I was like, I need to define what happiness is, what joy really is, what bliss really is. And I need to look at why, I haven't been in that situation, why I haven't, felt that, why I haven't experienced that, why I haven't, lived my bliss. Okay. And the first thing I realized, to answer that first part, that I realized about happiness is that it wasn't anything out there. I was making everything conditional. Our society, school, everything, jobs is kind of like status. How'd you do in this? What's the next level? How can you get more? How can you make more money? How can you look better in the eyes of other people, right? And when you get into that trap, then you're never good with where you're at, which means that means you're not happy in that moment. You're always like, oh, I could be even happier. So you're always comparing like your happiness of like, if I just did more, if I just did this, if I got to this level, if I had this relationship, if I had this job, if I had this money, blah, 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 then I'll be even happier, right? And it's like Tom and Jerry. It's like the cartoon if you used to watch it back in the day. And it's always just like kind of we make a fool of ourselves because the happiness is right now. And that's the second thing I've learned is that there is nothing out there that makes me happy. I've had to realize that happiness is within me, regardless of anything external, regardless of any condition, right? So the last 3 years, really, I could say for probably 2 decades, but intentionally from the last 2 years, I've been diving into being in the moment, being happy, feeling joy, not from any, thing going the way that I want, but like remembering my truth, remembering what's happening right now, remembering who I am, and that I am joy. I am bliss. And the more I've learned on how to connect with that, to unite with that, to remember that in every moment, the more I bring that now into every day, that I show up as that love, and that I'm being my isness. I'm being my truth. I'm being what's real, which is one of the big things I talk about in Blissflowly. Okay. And so I've reversed, what I used to think that it's like, if I do this, then this. It's now my focus is on within my mind, within my heart, and starting each day coming from that flow of joy. And then I, go out into the world, whatever happens that day, whatever is like the intention and creation of that day, I'm bringing that joy to that. And when I do that, then it doesn't matter if what used to need to happen for me to feel better happens, because I'm coming from a place of wholeness, from completion, from who I really am. Okay. And I feel like that was the missing link. And that is the missing link for so many people, is that we're caught in the trap of the rat race of, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And then we miss the now thing. We miss our kids growing up. I feel like my kids see me like outwardly, they're like, oh, dad's in the same kind of job. Dad's, like he looks the same. Okay. But if I really quiz them, I would think they would say, hey, you just seem more at peace. You seem happier. Right. And ultimately, that's what I want to teach them, not go make your life about pleasing someone else or needing somebody else's approval. Like that love within, that joy within. And it starts with me. And that was one of the big things that bothered me, is like, I wanted to show my kids what was possible. And so my definition of what was possible was money and success. Okay. And then I was in that loop. I was in that illusion. I was caught with that. And now, I want to teach them who they really are. And what does that start with? It starts with me. I'm, like, who am I? What does that mean? And what do I act like? What am I being like when I'm in their presence? Okay. And if I'm operating at a high vibration, if I'm coming at them from love, if I'm showing them possibilities, then that's the example. That's the truth of my beingness and what I was missing before. And guess what? That's what changed everything, okay? Because what happens when you're coming from your natural state? All the other things that you've always kind of wanted to just happen and flow without like a ton of effort start happening, because you're opening yourself up to what was always there waiting for you to be seen, to be felt, to be experienced. And so that's why, I'm dedicating my time and energy in my life and to other people to teach what I call blissfully, is that when you start understanding how to operate from bliss, from extreme joy, all the other things in your life, whether they're what your ego would prefer, you can actually start appreciating. You can start enjoying. You can start seeing the perfection of it. You can start noticing when you are growing, or when, like, gosh, that used to trigger me, or gosh, this used to be my preference and I'm okay with it now. Oh, I got that phone call. They were rude to me, and it doesn't really bother me. It's like I could send them love. It really changes everything, because it turns everything around from where you're coming from. You're not coming from a place of lack anymore. You're coming from a place of possibility. How can I, feel good in this moment when what my eyes appear to be seeing isn't necessarily what I would love to have showing up, right? And when you can embrace that, and when you can really feel into that and still be in a good place, you are winning the game of life. And what I would mean by that is to say, you're letting go of the illusions. You're letting go of the conditionality of what you think needs to make you happy. And you're getting to a place of mastery, and that you're allowing life to unfold as it will. and that you don't need anything to look a certain way. And I can't tell you how freeing that is, how fun that is, and what that means to the results of your life in every area, okay? Because when you're happy, other people want to be around you. When you're happy, the things that you're thinking about then line up with you. You know, the law of attraction works much better. When you're operating from a high vibration, then you are being a conduit for what you would like to create in your life. Okay. And when you're unhappy, you're making excuses, you're being a victim, you're being negative, and you're blocking everything, and you don't even know it. It's vicious. So everybody wants to learn how to manifest. Everybody wants to learn, like, okay, how can I create? Well, first, this is the secret. Is first, how can you heal? How can you love yourself? How can you need nothing and be good? And how can you operate from an optimal, highest vibration that you're capable of right now in your evolution? Okay. And so that's what I want to, share with this, like if there were steps of like what changed, is that I started focusing on my frequency, on how I was feeling in that moment, and like working through any negative thoughts and what can I do each day to raise that vibration. So my new set point is higher and higher, and then I operate from here. And I would say, if for the last 20 years I operated in a set point on a scale of 1 to 10, if I were to analyze it, from like anywhere from like a 3 to 7, but it was like chong chong chong, and like every once in a while I could feel an 8 or 9, which was cruel. And even a 10, like, oh my gosh, everything is right in the world, and I'd get a taste of it only to go back down to that 4 level. And it's like, oh, why can't I stay there? Why can't I just operate there constantly? And I would say now I'm jumped it quite a bit. Yes, I still get in that 6 every once in a while, but it's quick. I can get out of it. And yes, I get into that 9 and 10 a lot, but I operate, from like that more 7 to 8.5 to 9 range. And, even yesterday, I got a call with my job, one of the things that's not fun in what I do. And I was like, you know what? That doesn't change anything. They made a choice. It's all good. And like, I was like, it felt so empowering. It felt so freeing because I didn't need those people to make the decision I wanted them to, and that I could still be in my bliss. And that's like stepping into our power. This is what it looks like. This is what we miss in the books. This is what we miss when we go to the retreats or whatever. It's like, how do we apply it in our life? And that's what Blissflowly is. It's like, how can you heal and change your perceptions and allow yourself to step into the remembrance of who you really are? Like, that eluded me for so many years. That bothered me. Like, what am I missing? And I've said it in this video and numerous times. I was making everything out there instead of within. And then I would go out there chasing what was never to be found and never to be reached and never be enough, and hoping that then that would bring me that fulfillment and like the discovery of who I really am. And guess what? It was always just, chasing that rabbit that was never going to get closer. Okay. So that's, the story I wanted to go through with you. And what this looks like for you is, how can you raise your vibration? How can you stay in a state of grace and peace? How can you like literally like beam in the moment, and nothing is different about your world? And yes, you can go do the fun things, go into nature, meditate, do the things that you enjoy, right? But where that mastery comes in, where that like secret sauce comes in, is that you wake up every day excited for what you already are, and that you're excited to go create from a place of abundance and wholeness. And like, how can you give? How can you make an impact on people's lives? What can you do to enjoy that moment to the fullest? Because that is why we are here. We are here to like remember who we are. We came to this like knowing like, oh my gosh, we're these masters. We're one with God. And then we're born and boom, we've forgotten. And then we spend the rest of our lives going, gosh, there seems to be something missing. Oh yeah. Then we read like, that's right. We're one with God. We're masters. Anything is possible. And they're like, yeah, I mean, we really get that. I got that in the fabric of my being. And then it's like, but how? I've been reading that in books forever. And I wasn't able to ever follow the guidance. I wasn't able to like figure out the how because I would always get distracted by the pursuit of something else, you know? And really, it's the pursuit of now. It's the pursuit of remembering who you are. And there is no pursuit with that. It's letting go of all the other BS that we've bought into. And the world will change. Miracles will happen. Abundance is yours. And then you start remembering more and more and more and more. So I am dedicated to be teaching you, showing you, living with you, experiencing with you, what is possible for you, and living blissfully, that you are in joy, your life unfolds perfectly, and you don't judge or fear anything. So I have a free course that I'm just putting out there. You can go to blissflowly.com. It's free. At some point when you're watching this, I'm going to let people if they would like to pay, they can, but there's no strings. I want to put that out there. And that's the how, and it's the community. I call it a course, but it's more of a community where we get to support each other, and that I get to support you. Other people get to support you. You get to support other people. Everybody gets to give and receive, and a very cool process and experiential community to apply these kinds of concepts. So I hope you enjoyed my story. I hope you can relate. Would love for you to subscribe or follow me and share this. I could use your support. Like in the beginning, there's times, who knows when you're watching this, but in the beginning it's kind of crickets, and it's like, gosh, is there anybody out there who's even interested in this? Or all these things come up. But I'm committed to staying the course and seeing how I can help you any way I can. And together we get to give and live our best lives, right? Together. Okay. So much love, my friend. I'll see you on the next video. And remember, when you learn how to live your bliss, everything changes. And that's the part that I highly recommend focusing on, not the conditional of needing anything else to be blissful. Okay? Much love. Bye-bye.